Three times the New York Giants got down to the goal line. Three times they were denied a touchdown. Why the Washington Commanders came out of week one undefeated right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Commanders. I'm David Harrison, your guy on the ground covering the Washington Commanders for WUSA 9. Here with you 5 days a week. You can also find me writing about the Washington Commanders for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameday.com. You can follow me on X at DHarrison82. And I thank you for coming through, making Locked On Commanders your first listen or your first view following the Washington Commanders 21-6 Week 1 win over the New York Giants. If you're an everydayer, those of you who come through for every single episode, welcome back. Thank you again for coming through for today's episode. If it's your first time, welcome to Victory Monday. To some, it might still feel like a weird thing that we get to talk about Victory Monday as often as we do. Got a spoiler alert for you. We got a Victory Friday coming up this week as well, but we'll get all that here later in the week. So thank you for coming through for today's episode. On today's episode, we are handing out game balls, 3 stars to the game. We're going to go over the key drives, key moments in the Washington Commanders 21-6 win over the New York Giants. But first, we're going to start off by talking about the defense that carried the day for the Washington Commanders here in Northwest Stadium, sitting right behind me as we record this episode. All of that is coming up on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Head coach Dan Quinn talked to us all week about reestablishing the identity of this team. Not even so much reestablishing the identity of the team, because he doesn't want to carry over 2024 into 2025. He says this is a different team. This is a new team. This team needs its identity, and it takes more than 1 year for a franchise to establish its identity. So that's what he wanted this team to go ahead and do. Well, if you look at week one, you would say that the identity of this team right now, 1/17 of the way through the season, is defense. It's defensive, and that is not what the identity of the team was in 2024. But that identity also came with a dozen penalties that cost the team plenty of momentum. Not all on defense, of course, but plenty of momentum. So we're going to get into all this stuff. The main point of this game, the main takeaway I have coming out of this one game, and I reiterate that, hopefully not too much, but reiterate that because it is one game. So I think we all need to remember this team is going to evolve as the season goes on. This win came from the defense's ability to bend but not break on its own and inside of its own 10-yard line. They looked fast, physical, and resilient. And resilient is a big part of this thing, I think, despite being plagued by costly penalties. 3 separate goal line stands. The New York Giants never saw the end zone. Drives of 12 plays, another drive of 12 plays, and a drive of 16 plays. Those 3 drives alone are really the only drives that the New York Giants can hang their hat on and say we had some really good moments in this game, or some really good drives, I should say, in this game. Those 3 drives produced a total of 6 points. You're going to win every NFL game if you can do that against your opponents. Granted, the New York Giants are not necessarily considered to be, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles of the world, but it's an NFL squad. You don't apologize for who you went up against. You only apologize if you make too many mistakes to win. The Washington Commanders didn't do that. So getting a win here against the New York Giants, 3rd straight win against the New York Giants. First time the Commanders have done that since 1998 through 2000, building upon a 7-2 home record in 2024. So again, Washington Commanders started off the season 1-0 at home. But again, those repeated penalties, 12 team penalties, 89 yards. It basically gave the New York Giants nearly an entire football field's worth of territory, of real estate, just in those penalties. And that is always going to be a recipe for failure. So certainly something that this team needs to get going right moving on. And we talked to several players in the locker room, Dietrich Wise Jr., Zach Ertz, Quan Martin. Those 3 guys kind of come to mind. Brandon Coleman actually as well come to mind, specifically talking about those mistakes, talking about how the good news is they're relatively easy mistakes to correct. I don't want to say bad news, but the news is you got to go out there and correct them. It's one thing to say, well, these are easy mistakes to correct, but then if you don't correct them and come out in week 2 making the same mistakes, then the question starts to be like, okay, dude, like you said it was an easy correction. Why didn't you make the correction, right? So we'll see how that goes in the following week. Quarterback Jaden Daniels, a little bit of an up and down game. There were some moments where he looked a little bit out of rhythm, maybe a little bit late on some passes. There were certainly a couple of outbreaking passes that I thought he was late on. One of them, fortunately, just hit the ground, no harm, no foul. But another one, Terry McLaurin made a really good veteran play, came back to it, went down, scooped the ball up. It was ruled incomplete. I actually talked to Terry a little bit in the locker room about that pass, about that play. He assures me that he caught the ball. Spoiler alert, pretty much every NFL player is going to assure you they made the play they thought they made. But I agree with Terry. I think he caught the ball. I think the reason it doesn't get turned over is because in the camera angle, right, we don't have X-ray vision on our camera angles. We can't see through Terry's forearms to know that the ball behind his hands, behind his wrists, didn't touch the ground. So that's the conclusive evidence you need if you're a referee to overturn that call. That's why I think the call doesn't get overturned, right? So it reminds me a lot of that fourth down call against Pittsburgh Steelers with Zach Ertz, where I swear he got that first down, but because you couldn't see the tip of the ball to know if it crossed the line, you couldn't overturn that call, right? Anyway, Jaden Daniels, 19 for 30 overall passing. So, over 50%, but certainly not great percentage-wise. 233 yards, 1 touchdown, 98.3 passer rating. You'll take that. 9 carries, 70 yards. He was sacked 3 times. Again, late on a couple of passes. The one deep ball to Terry McLaurin that I know a lot of people talk about. Look, on the TV angle, obviously you don't get to see everything that I get to sitting in the press box, which is why we cover the game in person, right? Hint to some of those outlets out there who don't send their people to cover the games in person. Maybe you should. There's a reason to do it. Terry McLaurin, really great release off the line of scrimmage, but when he made his outside release to get past the defender there, he actually did drift a little bit to the left. And, some of that could be just the momentum taking him. Some of that could be what the defender did, things like that. But for whatever reason, just as you're running kind of sideways instead of just straight up the field, obviously it hinders your momentum up the field just a little bit. And I think that's really where the timing is off. Now, if Terry is able to kind of get off that release, get outside leverage, and boom, just head straight up field like Terry McLaurin usually does, then I think that pass is completed. And Northwest Stadium, might still be erupting at this moment if that pass is completed because it's going for a touchdown. So I think that's kind of so some of these moments where it looked like maybe Jaden was out of rhythm, I think it's just a little bit of week one. I don't even call them jitters, but just bugs to work out. And I think that if you're looking at a comparative, or if you want to compare to the same, okay, where is this team right now? When you look at this team week one this year versus week one last year, and I understand Buccaneers, playoff team last year, division champion, all that stuff, definitely a better team than this one, on paper. Then I think, but I still think you look at just the mechanics of the offense. Jaden and this offense are ahead of where they were this time last year. And if you believe the cliche that every new season defenses start faster than offenses, then you kind of feel good about what you saw with the Washington Commanders here in week one. The biggest thing, he was perfect on the first TV drive of the game. Did take some sacks, had that intentional grounding penalty there at the end of the half. I think Jaden would say, like, it was not unlike, clocking it, right, throwing the ball in the dirt type of thing. But he did have a defender bearing down on him. He was in the pocket. Unfortunately, that's one of those penalties where I agree with the call being made. And, if it was the Giants doing the same thing, I would expect the call to be made. But I do get Jaden's point of, like, it wasn't really a pass attempt or even an attempt to get out of the sack. It was, I knew that if that look wasn't open, I was just going to throw it away. So that's what I did. I understand what he's saying, but the rule is turnover free, which is always great. Showcase poise on his design rollout to the right. I really like the design rollout to the right by Cliff Kingsbury, because a lot of the conversation, especially from the Giants side of things, and folks who thought maybe the Commanders would get upset in this competition, came from, well, Jaden doesn't like to throw to his left. He doesn't like to roll to his left. So let's just do a whole lot of things to make him roll to his left and throw to his left. Well, not only did the Washington Commanders do a good job of protecting him and making sure the Giants couldn't do that as much as they would like to, but they actually specifically, which I think we mentioned on the show in the week leading up to the game, designed some things to specifically get him out to the right. We know that he's there, right? To steal an analogy from Von Miller, if you know Steph Curry likes to likes to spot up from the 3-quarter spot of the arc, get him the ball there, right? Make designs to get him there. The Washington Commanders did that with Jaden Daniels multiple times, got him out to his right side where he's most comfortable, and allowed him to make the plays that he needs to make. So you love seeing that as well. And a little bit of a milestone, Jaden Daniels did. He surpassed quarterback Alex Smith for 20th all-time on the franchise all-time passing yards list. So well on his way to a Ring of Fame induction, as Santana Moss got today. Sent out a little tweet on X if you haven't seen that about Santana Moss. So here publicly on the show, just congratulations to Santana. I've gotten to congratulate him in person as well. We'll just cover all the bases. We got the social media congratulations, we got the show congratulations, and we got the in-person congratulations. So looking forward to seeing Jaden Daniels continue his march towards Ring of Fame. Before we get that, of course, let's go to the key drives, the key plays of week one that led to the Washington Commanders' 21-6 win over the New York Giants. While the defense set the tone, it was Jaden Daniels' ability to avoid the catastrophic mistake that really helped keep the offense in the game, even though they weren't necessarily at their best. That and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you in part by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off for you. You and I, we make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right will help you cash in. We just talked about Dan Quinn making the right call in that crucial timeout before the goal line stand, getting the defense ready, helping them get stabilized on Prize Picks, or we're going to talk about that, I should say. Making the right call for your lineups pays off in a big way. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and the fastest way for you to get involved in the action. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your opinions into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. For today's game, you could have taken Jaden Daniels more than rush yards. Say he had 55.5 rush yard projection. If you took more than that, then you came out of a winner, right? And you would have cashed in. What about Daron Payne, set at 0.5 sacks, 0.5 sacks, half a sack? If you took the more on that, then you would have cashed in on his monster performance as well. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by Upside. Hey fans, Commanders fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. The Commanders offense left points on the field at the end of the first half. Don't be like them and leave money on the pump or off of your card at the gas pump. The Commanders had some long scoring drives today, and if you're driving to the stadium to work or anywhere else, you could be earning money back on the gas that you're already buying. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but I took it to my local gas station. I'm going to say which one. Local gas station, tried it out, and it was legit. People are making up to $300 a year just from buying the gas they already have to buy. Plus, you can cash out anytime, and you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and many other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Wink, wink. Download the free Upside app now using the limited time promo code touchdown for an extra 25 cents back on your per gallon back on your first fill up. That's promo code touchdown. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. From a perfect 89-yard touchdown drive to a goal line stand for the ages, the game was a little bit of a roller coaster of an experience. Massive moments that we need to break down play by play on some of these things, right? So let's go through our key moments and our key drives of the Washington Commanders 21-6 win over the New York Giants, a key divisional win. Washington Commanders 1-0 undefeated in week 1. We'll see them they go undefeated in week 2. New York Giants being maybe a little bit Jackson Dart potentially next time the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants see each other. Anyway, that's for another conversation. First key moment, we are going to go through these key moments and drives in chronological order. Quarter 1, 12:47 on the clock, very early in the game. 3rd and 5 play. And I know for a fact, because I talked to him about it, and he looked me right in the eye when he said, very upset. He used a different word. Very upset about my own performance. First off, a false start. And then following the false start, a dropped pass that would have converted despite the false start. But I will tell you a little bit of a silver lining that the players aren't going to lean on as an excuse, but I will certainly bring up just because to contextually talk about this team, you do have to kind of do that. You know, I haven't been covering this team as long as some people have, but I've been covering this team long enough that I do remember a time where 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6 because of a false start, or 3rd and inches to 3rd and 5 because of a false start. And you just think, tell Tress way to get warmed up for a punt. But we're in a position now where 3rd and 5 turns into a 3rd and 10. 3rd and 10 could even turn into 3rd and 15. And you're going, okay, let's see what they dial up to convert this, because there's a chance they could actually convert this. That was one of those situations. You know, Zach Ertz gets the false start, drops the 3rd down into a longer down in distance than it was before and should have been. But then you look at it and say, okay, what are they going to draw up to make up for it? They draw up a route that gets Zach Ertz open. Jaden Daniels hits him with the ball. And unfortunately, Zach Ertz just drops it. And unfortunately, they can't convert. So that was certainly a key moment. Early in the game, you want to get that drive going. You want to get that fast start going. An opportunity for them to do so there. That Zach Ertz, like I said, kicking himself for a little bit. Go later on in the game, not too much later, but 3rd and 11, the defense forces a 3rd down. Daron Payne gets a hustle tackle, screen pass to a wide receiver. And guys, I'm not going to say you never see it, but you don't typically see a defensive tackle, an interior defensive lineman, getting down the line of scrimmage, parallel to the line of scrimmage, and getting outside fast enough to be the tackler, not just gang tackling, not catching up to the tackle, but being the guy to bring down a wide receiver on a screen. Now, a little bit of it was on the Giants developing a little bit slowly. You have to acknowledge that. But the fact that Deron Payne got out there right then there kind of gave you that first glimpse that number 94 might have been in for a pretty big day, which he was. Fast forward now, 7:03 into the first quarter. 2nd and 6, a key play, 34-yard pass to none other than practice squad wide receiver Chris Moore. Later on, you get a 7-yard touchdown pass from Zach Ertz, a little bit of redemption for him. And if you followed the show all week long, our fantasy must-start commander of the week there capped off an 8-play, 89-yard drive. Again, that drive, Jaden Daniels was perfect. Washington Commanders go on the board 7-0. Turns out that was a game-winning score. Don't need any more points in there, but of course you're going to try to get one anyway. 14 minutes left in the second quarter, 4th and 2, the first goal line stand of the game. 16 plays. The New York Giants took 16 plays, drove all the way down to the 2-yard line, had 3 chances from inside the 2-yard line, 4 chances total from 2 yards or closer, and did not come up with more than a field goal. Dietrich Wise Jr. committing a penalty, but also part of the unit that just came up with the stop and held the New York Giants to a field goal anyway. It had to be incredibly frustrating for Giants head coach Brian Daboll and that offense to only come away with 3 points, but that's what the defense gets paid for. Fast forward midway through the second quarter, 2nd and 4 specifically, offensive possession kept alive by 2 Giants defensive holding penalties. So the Giants certainly shot themselves in the foot just a little bit, but overcame 2 sacks. One of those sacks at least given up by right tackle Josh Connerly Jr. Not sure who the other one was given up or credited to, but I do know that one at least was credited to Josh Connerly Jr. Brian Burns getting 2 sacks, both sacks on that drive, but they're able to overcome. That's kind of what we're talking about. They get both these sacks, and you know they still have penalties going on throughout the game, but as you're watching them, you still have confidence that this Commanders team has the ability to still overcome those mistakes, and certainly they did enough. 8-play, 58-yard touchdown drive despite the 2 Brian Burns sacks. Talked to Brandon Coleman specifically and talked to some other guys as well. Just really impressed by Josh Connerly Jr., not necessarily about every rep, right? He's not perfect. He's a rookie making a start in his first NFL game, all those things, but just the way he rebounded, the way that he kind of carried himself. And we talk about this a lot when you scout quarterbacks for the NFL draft. It's not, does he have the arm talent? Does he have the athletic ability? All that stuff. It's what happens after he gets sacked. What happens after he's gotten hit 5 times in a game, 10 times in a game, things like that. So for Josh Connerly Jr., giving up that sack to Brian Burns, it's not even necessarily the sack that he gives up that you're super concerned with, because let's be honest here, Brian Burns has gotten sacks against a lot of really talented offensive tackles. Josh Connerly Jr., certainly not the first, certainly won't be the last. It's how does the rookie tackle bounce back, come back, take that next rep, take that next snap after that. And Josh Connerly Jr., according to his teammates, came back pretty well to keep them at least impressed there. So that's another one. Key play on that one, of course, Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt Bill getting his first real NFL touchdown, 6-yard touchdown on an inside zone run, showing excellent vision, which we've seen all preseason, all training camp, something we've been praising about him all year long, honestly. Just has been really impressive. Moved the score out to 14-3. 5 seconds left in the second quarter. Washington Commanders are in field goal range. Intentional grounding, obviously, is a key play. We already kind of talked about that. Fourth quarter, going all the way to the fourth quarter, 1st and 10. 9-play drive, 80-yard touchdown drive. 3rd and 5, converted a 3rd down, 19-yard pass to Deebo Samuel Sr., the new Washington Commanders wide receiver, traded for this year. Ends up in a touchdown drive. And again, you just seal that game with a 19-yard touchdown run on a jet sweep in his Commanders debut. Nearly 100 yards of offense for Deebo Samuel. Probably should have been 100 yards of offense because Deebo had a couple of drops on the day, but Deebo will have a couple of drops here and there. It's kind of like Noah Igbenogany, where Noah I is kind of good for a flag every game and a half. Deebo Samuel is going to be good for a drop here and there. But at least 3 insiders asked me for advice, and one of my friends on the side. So at least 4 people asked me for advice on their fantasy roster. They told all 4 of them to start Deebo Samuel. All 4 of them started Deebo Samuel. All 4 of them are happy with that advice. We'll just remember that. We won't remember the next time I give you bad fantasy advice. 2:43 in the fourth quarter. Game's not over, but certainly could be if the Washington Commanders defense stands up. Quan Martin intercepts Russell Wilson, negated by roughing the passer call. I'll say it for Bobby Wagner, the BS call. The rule on hitting the quarterback in the head is forcible contact. That wasn't forcible contact. I've had more forcible contact, bumping into walls, with my shoulder or whatever. But anyway, it was called. Negates an interception. Yes, I predicted a Quan Martin interception. Yes, I was excited when he got it, not because I predicted it and I want to pat myself on the back, but because I think Quan is really talented safety and he needs more credit, and that would have certainly helped him get more credit Quan Martin also not happy about having the interception stolen from him by NFL officiating. They owe him one on that one. Rookie report here. Croskey-Merritt, Bill led the team, 10 carries, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, scored the go-ahead touchdown, or scored one of the key touchdowns, I should say, had a 42-yard game-sealing run as well. Josh Conley Jr., again, struggled a little bit in pass protection, but love the resiliency. See how those lessons help him going into Green Bay. Jalen Lane, young wide receiver, handled punt return duties, had 1 catch for 11 yards on 2 carries. When you look at these key moments, it becomes crystal clear which players truly stepped up and earned their spot as our stars for the game. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Football is officially back. The NFL season is officially back. And honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans, cheering on the team if you're a fan in the stands. Look, I know Northwest Stadium gets a lot of grief, but one of my favorite things about Northwest Stadium is the fact that the press box is pushed right up against the seats. We see a lot of you guys cheering. We see a lot of you guys reacting. Some of you guys turn around and you wave. And there was a fan today who, after the game, stood there and was just waving as much as they could to get John Kimes' attention. He was busy. He wasn't being rude. He just was locked into what he was doing. Somebody got John's attention. John looked up. We all appreciate when that kind of stuff happens. So it's just really cool being around you guys, being around Commanders fans, and seeing your excitement and kind of feel it as the game goes on as well. So if you haven't been to the stadium to feel that energy, certainly recommend that you get in there. Imagine being in the stadium when Bill breaks off his 42-yard run to help seal the game. You don't have to imagine it if you're here, and that's why you need to use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by a Game Time guarantee. All the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay, and you can see your seat before you buy your ticket. So download the Game Time app, create your account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So who gets the game balls after a chaotic win, and what does a victory this up and down tell us about what they need to do, Commanders, heading into a short week against Green Bay? So if you're not aware, and it just started, so you may not be, just started after this very game, Commanders Squad Show. So as soon as the press conferences are over, as soon as the locker room interviews are over, I jump out. But Nick Ashew and former Washington wide receiver Anthony Armstrong, they're firing off live as soon as the game is over, right here on the Locked On Commanders YouTube page. Commander Squad feed is the feed that you want to look for, but it'll pop up as a live episode, live stream as well. And then as soon as I get done with press conferences, locker room conversations, all that stuff, then I jump in there for the conversation as well. Nick does a really good job of reading your guys' comments, your guys' questions, bringing them as many of them up to the forefront. It's an hour long, so we have more time to engage with you, the fan, the listener, and all those things, and you get the perspective, man. 2 media members. Look, Nick has been in this media market longer than I have. I'm currently on the ground covering the team as a beat reporter. Anthony Armstrong is a football player, so he can tell us where we're wrong, where we're right. If he wants to, he can tell us why we shouldn't have opinions about football. Petty. And even more things coming. So it's a lot of fun. Commander Squad Show, live after every game. It's actually going to be twice a week. Although I think because of the Thursday night game, such a quick turnaround, the next episode will probably be also after the Thursday night game against the Green Bay Packers. And then from there forward, twice a week, one between each game and then one after every single game. So back to Locked On Commanders, though. Play of the game, the final goal line stand. The entire final goal line stand is going to be the play of the game because at that point in time, the Washington Commanders have a very good lead, certainly have control of the game, but the game is not put away. The game is not sealed. When they get that goal line stand, that final goal line stand, 4 straight plays from the 3-yard line to win, to seal the game. Ultimate display of mental toughness, resiliency, and just the epitome of that bend don't break atmosphere here with the Washington Commanders. Our 3 stars of the game. If you're new to the show, we do this hockey style. Third best star is our number 3 star. Second best our second. Top star is our number 1, and we go 3, 2, 1. We're going all Washington Commanders here. Sometimes we like to go New York Giants. We're just going all Washington Commanders here. If you want a New York Giants honorable mention, we'll go to Brian Burns. But outside of that, although Abdul Carter also blocked punt, not really happy about you hitting Tress Way, but that's a different story. Third star, Croskey-Merritt, running back, Bill, as we call him here. Unexpected, I would say unexpected rookie hero. A lot of us had a lot of hope for him, but certainly a very impressive debut for him. Led the team in rushing, scored the go-ahead touchdown. Go-ahead touchdown. Why do I keep saying go-ahead touchdown? It's just exciting, more exciting that way, right? Scored a touchdown, sealed the win with a 42-yard run. Croskey-Merritt, I think I told him like 3 times in the locker room, hey, good debut. young fella, because that's what us old guys call young fellas. We call him young fella. Yeah. So anyway, number 2 star, Deebo Samuel, the new wide receiver. Commanders debut, another debut. Also told him, nice debut. They only told him once, though, so not quite as an old guy move. 96 total scrimmage yards, game-clinching TD, dynamic offensive weapon, everything that is as advertised. The exact reason I wanted to draft him in my money league. And then somebody snaked him right before me, literally the pick before me. So anyway, breaks my heart. Number 1 star, man. Got to give it to number 94, man. Daron Payne. What a game. What a debut for this season. And you love it. We talked about this offseason, how Daron is basically a contract year for him, right? The Washington Commanders can very easily move on from him after this season if they want to. And he showed them in this game that he is a guy they need to keep on this roster. Now, he needs to do it 16 more times, hopefully about 20 more times, ultimately leading to a Super Bowl. But dominant performance, 4 tackles, 1 sack, critical batted pass on the final play, final goal line stand, surpassed Andre Carter for 9th on the franchise all-time sack list in this game. I asked Daron Payne after the game about his airplane celebration. I don't know if they showed it on television. They didn't. We all played airplane, right? Like stick your arms out, run around, tilt left, tilt right, fly around. I asked him about it. I said, was that coordinated? Was that planned? Or was that just kind of spur of the moment? And kind of laughed. He's like, man, I did too much on that one. He's like, because I thought it was 4th down and that we got the ball back. But it turned out they were about to kick a field goal. So they actually ended up scoring. So he had to get off the field. He was celebrating and was getting yelled at to get off the field. So fun moment there with Daron Payne. I also asked him how many quarterback hits the team had, and he said, oh, no, a couple, which, being humble. Looking ahead here for the Washington Commanders, defensive identity is set, man. Elite, resilient, but you got to clean up the penalties as a team, not just on the defense. 12 penalties for 89 yards, way too much overall. Offensive line, I wouldn't call it a significant concern, but certainly a concern, right? This pass rush, this front 7, Cliff Kingsbury said it himself, might be the best one they faced all season long. I agree with him to a certain extent. But, yeah, Micah Parsons coming up in 4 days. Need to get those outline issues, the ones that are existing, cleaned up as much as possible. And then offensive bright spot, Cliff Kingsbury's game plan for Jaden Daniels, the emergence of Bill, call it emergence just on the real regular season field. We've all known about him. He's on my fantasy roster, my money league for a reason. I know a lot of you drafted him as well. Huge positives. The team faces a short week at Green Bay, so we got no time to really resonate on this win. But I will tell you, it's a great win to get the season started. Washington Commanders are 1-0. Locked On Commanders, we are 1-0 with them. Cheers to all of you as I hold my bottle of water up in celebration with you. That's going to do it for today's episode. Next time on Locked On Commanders, we're going to dive even deeper into this win, break down as much as we can, pull as many lessons from it as we can as we start to look ahead to the Green Bay Packers. In the meantime, if you've got questions or comments, probably no time to do a mailbag episode this week. I'm sorry, insiders, but we just don't have a lot of time. So I will see how it all shakes out. Potentially we will, but potentially we won't. If we don't, I will try to do an extra Zoom for you this week. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast Wednesday afternoon. Me, yours truly, I'm with Tony Wiggins in the barbershop on Locked On NFL as well. So make sure you go through and check that out. But also Tyler Rowland in the morning, man. That dude is electric. He is coffee for your ears if you ever listen to him. That dude could read you a prescription from your doctor and you would just be amped up because that's how much hype he brings to everything. Locked On NFL on YouTube, wherever you listen to this podcast, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Of course, to the everydayers, I see you. I appreciate you both every day, and I thank you specifically for coming through yet again today. Until next time, stay safe, be kind to one another, and we'll talk again soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.